Welcome back to our Ford Powerstroke 6-7 maintenance series. Today we're going to be changing out both fuel filters. This is pretty important to do. I like to do it every 5,000 miles just because you never know, and these things are expensive if you have to repair your fuel system. So I only trust the OEM stuff, and that's what I get. So make sure you're getting it from a reputable source, either directly from your dealer. If you're gonna buy them off of Amazon, make sure that it's a legit seller. If you're gonna buy them on eBay, make sure that the seller is an actual Ford dealer, because there are some counterfeit parts going around. I'm going to talk about the tools that you want to have on hand, stuff to make it a little bit less messy of a job. And yeah, so let's just get to it. First thing I do is I have a glass jar here, and I'm going to take a sample of my fuel, crack open the drain on the filter that's down by the fuel tank, and that's where the water separator is. So I'm just going to drain a little bit of fuel into there, and we're going to see if there's any like water junk or weird stuff in there. Probably should be doing that every month, but I'm sure most people don't. The last time I did this was probably, I don't even remember, 6 months ago. So yeah, so let's do that first, and then we'll work on the next couple of steps, and I'll show you some cool tools you're going to want to have. Okay, here we are, working on the floor like a dirty old hillbilly. So let me show you some cool tools we got here. You already know about our little mason jar there. I have a panel clip tool to pop the clips off of the plastic guard here. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. It makes it a little bit easier to get at the actual filter housing itself. So I have that. I have a 1/4-inch ratchet that has a swivel head on it, a little extension, and a deep well 8mm. And then I have the old spinneroo here with an 8 on it. A light, because, you know, it's nice to be able to see things, obviously. And this one I absolutely recommend. This is a mixing tub for like mortar or concrete, I guess. I like to put this here while I'm working because it's a nice big area, and it's going to catch all your slops, because you're going to have some slops when you're doing this. So obviously you want little glovies on your hands. You don't want warts or something later on in life. So okay, yeah, so let's get the camera set up here, and we're gonna go after that drain valve up there. And yeah, so here we go. All right, hopefully you guys can see this okay. So we get our tub here, and then this thing can only open one way. Okay, so I got it cracked, and then I'm just gonna open it up and take a little sample here.
Sippy cup.
Yep. So I'm probably going to fill up like 1/4 of this, you know, just to take a look at it. So
it's more than 1/4.
Yeah. All right, we got our drippy tray ready, because again, this is kind of a messy job, so we don't want to. So I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and I don't see anything sketchy in there at all. That diesel looks really clean, and that is absolutely what you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting the this plastic piece off. You don't really need to do it, but I feel like it makes it a little bit easier to get the filter housing off. I can see a little bit better. So the first thing that we're going to do is pop this the whiff sensor. That's water and fuel, and there's a little, the tape is covering it up, but there's a little tab. You can feel it push, and then you'll just pull that right off. And then I like to just kind of snake this up out of the way. Just obviously don't forget about it. Okay, so then these, pretty self-explanatory. these little clips. That's why you want this tool, and that you pry this off. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. You pry that off, and then we'll just set these to the side. And I inspect the clip to make sure it's not all mangled. Looks okay. So we'll put that out of the way. Kind of gently pry. You don't want to be like Gorilla Boy, because these things will break. And then once you get it popped, you can go underneath with your tool. I don't know, can you see that hopefully? Get my hands out of the way. And you pop that off. And again, I look at it and inspect it. It looks good. Okay. All right, so now what we can do is there are 2, 3, 4, 5 8mm bolts. So what you can do is get out your ratchet and just crack these loose. And this is in plastic, so it shouldn't be too insane from the last time you did this, hopefully.
It's interesting how they mold the plastic with the X's.
Yeah, it's for strength.
Yep.
Okay, so now that that's kind of loose, I want to get these so that they're a little, just make sure they're going to start coming out easy. You don't want this thing to flop off on you, so definitely make sure you still got some threads in there. But anyways, what we can do now is open this valve up and let it drain. And while that's draining, the best thing to do is to start getting your bolts so that they're free. So you can see this is loose now. I'm going to leave this one kind of tight.
You want to get these on your eyeballs while you're working.
Yep, that won't be fun. And then what you can do too is start rocking this thing a little bit to break the suction. And then you just have to be ready for some slops, because it might happen. All right, so that one's good and loose.
Your bolt's spinning a little bit.
Yeah. So I like to try to break the suction, and that's going to also stop this like siphoning effect if it is pulling fuel out. Okay, so that one's loose, that one's loose, this one's got some thread still. Okay, that one's loose now. Alright, so we're basically free. Looks like this one still has a little bit. Okay. So I'm trying not to make a giant mess. I come straight down, and then I don't want to tilt this thing yet because I want to look inside it, and I want to see if there's any funny stuff inside, inside the filter housing. Okay, always take the opportunity to use your wife's favorite cake pan to do something like this. We're going to take this and transfer it into here. All right, camera guy is going to come out here. Let's take this to the bench. What we're going to do is we're going to pop this filter off. And it's, if you've never done this before, it's kind of weird, but can you see with the camera, see where it says removal right there? You see that? And then it says install here. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You basically just give this like a little push. You hear a click, and then you lift it straight up, and there's your filter. So now, just lay that in the pan. What I like to do is I like to turn things on and take a peek in there, so you can see there's a tiny bit of metal in there.
Looks almost like gold.
Yeah, I wish it was gold. At least I think that's what that is. Let's see.
Yeah, there's some sort of like particles in there.
Yep. So, I mean, who knows? That could be coming from when you fill up with fuel and stuff. I mean, if this thing is glittering and full of metal, that's definitely a bad sign. And this isn't. It looks pretty clean, other than that little, a tiny bit there. So, it's doing its job. It's picking stuff up. So you have to remember that it goes through this pretty massive filter.
It's a pretty good screen.
Yeah. So, so what we'll do is we'll empty this out, clean it. I like to give it a little hose with some brake clean just to clean stuff up. The other thing, make sure, don't forget about this, that you close this.
Yeah.
So when it clicks, it's closed. So make sure you do that, because when you put all this jazz together, you don't want this thing to be open and then you go to prime the truck and it just pisses fuel out everywhere. So we'll give this a little blow jay, being careful of your whiff sensor there. So there's the sensor. This will detect water in the fuel there. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm not too concerned with anything.
That connector's for?
Yeah, that's where that plugs in, yeah. So let's open up our box here. And again, this is OE stuff. I like using the actual Ford stuff. Man, I feel like the instructions get thicker and thicker every time. All right, well, I guess there's instructions if you want to read them. I've never seen them like this before, but okay.
Visual.
Yeah, so I mean,
but
we'll look at that some other day. This is the filter that's going to go under the hood, and we'll change that one later. Always do the one by the tank first. Comes with a new rubber gasket. We're definitely going to...
Which is for this part.
Yep, we're definitely going to want to install that.
Don't drop your gaskets on the ground.
Yep, make sure that's clean. Looks fine. And then, so obviously we got to take off this old one. Have a little screwdriver handy, or a pick even. And you can...
I would use a pick.
Just work this off. So it can only go in one way. Just, I knocked all the chunks and stuff off. There was a little bit of dirt on this rail. But, just inspect it. It should be fairly clean. And then this goes on just like so. Just falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
And just take your time working it on there. And it's perfectly fine if you get a little bit of drippy diesels on there. So you want to make sure that it bottoms. So I go over the whole thing, and again, I just make sure that it's in there right. So it's actually pretty well designed part. I feel like the Ford engineers knew what they were doing when they were making this. So the key is you just want to try to be clean as possible with this. So okay, so new gaskets in. Now the other thing that I like about when you buy the OE stuff is, look at this. It's in a
zipped bag.
Yeah, so it's clean.
You can also reuse the bag for other things too.
Yeah, I guess you could. So I'm going to make sure my hands are somewhat clean taking this thing out. So there you go. Protect your engine. All right, so same sort of deal. You can see it has removal and install. So goes up like this. So the filter's going to go in here like so.
It's got the clips in the bottom, you can see.
Yep. So basically just kind of falls into place. And you line up the I don't know, it's hard to explain. It just basically lines up, and then you push it, and that's it. It's going to be a little floppy like this because when you compress everything, it basically tightens up. Yeah. It's going to have a little wiggly doodles to it. But all right, so now we're going to go back and pop this baby in there. I like to jiggle it around a little bit just to make sure it's seated. and then I start this center bolt, and then I start some of the back ones. And you're just getting them started. That way we know they're not going to cross thread. And you don't want to use like an impact or anything on this.
It's all plastic, so you got to be careful.
Yep, definitely.
You don't need to go too tight.
Should be able to get all these with your hand. I mean, that's the best. That's really the good part about taking off that cover, is that you can get to stuff. So once you start, once these things start getting tough to go by hand, then get your cool tool out and start kind of spinning them down. But just, you're going to want to work around, you know, back and forth, just so that you're not tightening up one of these bolts more than the other. You don't want to warp this cover. You can feel them basically bottom, and that's when you want to stop. So now I'm going to get out my ratchet. That way I can get a better feel on some of these.
I like how the housing says FOMO-Co.
Oh yeah. So again, we're just working with plastic here, so we're not going to be a gorilla. So that's bottomed. That's bottomed. That's bottomed. And you're going to feel it. Okay, that's bottomed. And I just give it a tiny tug on it, just to make sure that it's good. And remember, the gasket's doing all the work. You're just snugging this up. Okay, so we're good. We're done. We're going to want to put this cover back on. So we got a little bit of slops on it, but that's okay. And then this goes on like so. Kind of falls into place.
The screws are much easier to get with the cover on.
Yeah, it's probably worth spending the few seconds to take the cover off, honestly, because then you can get to things better. So now it's just a matter of squirreling your head in here and trying to find the holes and get them lined up, and then you just push them in. Yeah, it's super straightforward. So same thing with the top one. I mean, you can do this by feel. It's pretty easy.
On the side?
Yep. It's next to the frame rail here, but still not too bad. Push that one in. And then most importantly, we got to get our water and fuel sensor connected. This can only go in one way. So line it up, you hear a click, and that's it, you're done. So I'm going to go get a rag, and I'm going to spray the rag with brake clean, and just to clean this up. So I'm not going to show that, but want to keep it clean. So, and then I'll show you how to prime everything. All right, if there's one thing that I want you to pay attention to when you're watching this video, is that smeared? You absolutely do not want to try to start this truck. Don't. It will screw up stuff. You got to fill up that filter housing. So what is recommended is 6 10 count, so 10-second applications of priming, basically turning the truck to the on position. So we're going to do that now. Push the button. And you can can you hear it? So you can hear it. I mean, honestly, just leave the thing on, like, let it fill. So wait for that to stop. All right, so it's slowed down there. So, I mean, it's probably safe to say that it's full, but again, we're going to do what they recommend, and I'm going to turn it off. Okay. It's off. We're going to turn it on. I hear stuff. This is why we do it. This is why you gotta cycle this thing. You gotta get all the air out of it. And again, it's important that you do this filter first. You gotta do this one first, get the air out of it, then we're gonna go into the engine bay and we'll get the other one out. So it's still doing stuff. It sounds gnarly, but it's starting to calm down. So it's been at least 10 seconds. Turning it off. Okay. Again, we're going to turn it on. And you can, this is our third application. Again, I still hear it doing stuff. So it's going to be trying to work out the air. Back in the day, man, you got air in your fuel lines and stuff. You had to crack fuel lines and get air out of them. I mean, some of these old diesels, when I do filter changes, you got to bleed them out a little bit of a different way. So this is kind of nice. You just take your time, do the 6 10-second cycles, and you know you're good. So, all right, I'm turning it off. Turning it back on. And I mean, I can tell that everything's probably good, but we're gonna finish that up. So I got 2 more cycles that I'm gonna do, and then we'll fire the camera back up, and then we'll fire the truck up. Okay, I'm doing our last cycle here, and then we're gonna fire it up. So it sounds good. I don't hear anything weird going on. Truck should fire up normally. You shouldn't have anything weird going on because we purged all the air out of that filter housing. I let it idle just for a little while just to get kind of happy, and then we're going to go under the hood and we're going to pop off the other fuel filter, and that one's pretty straightforward as well. So I'm going to let it idle for a few minutes just to make sure everything's happy, and I'll meet you under the hood. Sweet. Oh, what a good time. Okay, welcome back. Wow, look at how tall I am. I'm like a giant hillbilly. No, actually, standing on this little goofy 2-foot stepladder thing. Highly recommend you get something like that. That way you can get to your filter a little bit easier. So you can see this is what we're going to be after. And this is not that big of a deal. There's these little clips, and basically you work these clips off, and then these lines pull right out very easily. And I like to put a little rag down here to catch any of the little slops. So we push these little clips out of the way. And be careful if you're working under here. It might be hot, so I'm kind of checking stuff out. I didn't run it for that long, but still, this thing is hot. So okay, I just kind of put this rag in here just to kind of alleviate any of the slops, because I mean, you get fuel everywhere, you're just going to get dirt attracted to it. That's super annoying. Yeah, you'll feel the little like tabbed things. This one's kind of annoying because it's, there we go. You got to use both fingers. You'll feel the tab, and then you just have to push them a tiny bit, and then they rock forward pretty easily. So, and this one, I think this one you actually have to hit with the screwdriver. Yeah, this one, the green one, I think I can get my fingers on it. Kind of just, so this is, I'm gonna use a screwdriver for this one after I got the tabs pulled. There we go. I use the screwdriver just to help me. So I got all the tabs off. Let me get the camera down here so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so we're gonna pull these straight back. And a little bit of diesel slop, but not too badly. And then we turn this. And we did get some diesel slops. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have 2 rags handy, just in case. So we'll clean up our little slops, not a big deal. But you basically rotate that filter and pull it out. And remember, there is fuel in it. So I like to keep the box right next to me where I'm working, and then I lay the filter in it right away. So here's our new one. Take this cap off. And then we're going to put this in here. And you can feel it drop into place. Get these hoses, the hoses back a little bit. And then you can feel it click into place. And then it's just a matter of pushing all of our hoses back on. You want to make sure they bottom good. And then after that, you just push all your little clippy guys into place, and that's it. So I'm just gonna get the rest of my slops that I slopped. Not too bad. We got to do our same sort of deal with filling that filter up now. So we're gonna go back in the truck. Now's a good time to make sure you don't have diesel hands. Mine actually look okay. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna turn it on. And I don't know, can we hear that thing filling up? Oh yeah. So it's probably not a bad idea when you turn that on to the on position to come over here. Yeah, you can hear it filling up, just to verify that nothing spooky's going on. No, I don't see any leaks. If you had a leak, you would definitely know about it. It would go everywhere. So I'm pretty sure it's completely full, but we're going to do what's recommended, and that is to do 6 10-second cycles, and I'll come back when that's all done. Okay, it's time to do our last cycle. All right, we did our last cycle. We're going to start it. And then I like to hop out here and verify again. All right, that's it, everybody. That's how you do your fuel filter replacements. It's really not that big of a deal. I feel like if I wasn't recording all this, I could probably do this in under 45 minutes, maybe less than that. It's really not that difficult. Just remember the procedures. Yeah, if you found this even remotely helpful, maybe click thumbs up. Subscribe if you like this kind of content. I appreciate that, obviously. I'll put some Amazon affiliate links down below with some of the cool tools that I use. I make a small sale off those. It's not much, but you know, every sale helps, so I appreciate that. Okay, well, I hope everyone's having a good weekend, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.